I'm Ranger Erin, and today we are wondering how come eggs don't break when their parent birds sit on them to incubate them in order for them to hatch. Well, we're going to start with that egg because the egg itself is going to help the most. So the shape of the egg, it's a little bit more than a sphere. So we know that a sphere is like that circle that's in 3D, so it's round all the way around. But our egg has what we call an egg shape. It's a little bit pointier on one side, a little bit more round on the other, and the whole shape is stronger from the outside than it is the inside. And what I mean by that is that when something puts pressure on top of it, or a predator is trying to crack its way into it, it's going to be a little bit harder from the outside than it would be for that baby chick to break its way out. So it's stronger from the outside in than it is from the inside out. It also depends on your bird. So each one of our birds is going to make a slightly different egg. So our heavier, bigger birds like geese are going to make heavier, stronger eggs. And they're going to have a little bit of a thicker shell to help manage the weight of their parents sitting on top of those eggs. Many of our birds also prepare a place to lay their eggs. So they make nests. And there's lots of different types of nests out there. So some of our birds don't even bother with trees. And they're not going to do a whole lot. They're going to make a nest on the ground. They're going to be ground nesting birds. They're still going to do a little preparation. They're going to smooth away the area. They're going to choose the perfect type of soil. They might even put a few leaves and stuff down, clear away the stones. So they're going to make a good place on the ground. Of course, we also have our birds that are going to be nesting up in the trees. Those are probably the nests that you think of first because they kind of stand out in the tree branches, especially this time of year without any leaves on the trees. And they'll make really elaborate nests. Sometimes they're round and cupped. Sometimes they're totally flat, kind of like that bald eagle makes a really big flat platform. And some of our birds don't bother with putting together things. What they're going to do is they're going to chip away a hole in a tree, or they're going to find a hole that's already there. Those are called our cavity nesters, but they're still going to prepare that area by putting soft things in there. So that soft stuff at the bottom is going to help to cradle that egg a little bit more. So again, when that owl is sitting on top of her nest, it's going to be a softer material below those eggs so that it's not as hard, it's not as likely to crack that egg. Lastly, a lot of our birds are going to make what we call an egg cup. So depending on how many eggs they lay, they're going to make a little divot. So they're going to make a little dent for that egg, and that egg is going to lay inside of that little dent inside the nest. So the whole nest is there, and then they're going to have, maybe if they're laying 3 eggs, they're going to have 3 little dents, and each of those eggs is going to be supported from below. And a little extra support from below, that little dent shape, is going to help to cradle them. Again, when that mama bird sits on top, puts her weight on there, it's going to have a little bit of support from below. It's going to sort of shed the weight off to the sides. Let's look at a few different types of nests because our birds are so ingenious and they use so many different exciting materials. Remember that our birds come in all different sizes. That bald eagle is going to make a nest that would fit way outside of this box. It's going to be about the size of your bathtub. That hummingbird is going to have something that's even smaller than anything I have here. It's going to be about the size of a quarter. And depending on how big that bird is, they're going to have to make it out of different materials. So rocks, sticks, stones, mud, seeds, and straw, and pine needle, and grasses. Those are all really great materials for our birds. So I've got a few different examples, and we'll take a look at them. This one added a few different feathers to the bottom of it. They found that their own feathers were going to help them to have some structure here. You can see that it has that little egg shape in here. The sides come up for a little bit of insulation to keep that baby warm, but the whole thing is not very strong. So this was a smaller bird. This is a super strong nest because this one used mud. So they bound together some mud and some straw to make a base, and then on the inside they use these softer pine needles to cradle that egg. This one, a little bit older, very similar type of construction, using mud and grass on the outside, softer materials on the inside. And this last little petite one, very delicate, small bird. Doesn't need a whole lot of structure, but you can see that this one used seeds to line the inside to make it soft and warm to cradle that egg, but then used some grasses, which were the stronger material, for this tiny little nest. Our hike today is going to be a nest hike. So make sure that you're looking at the ground for those ground nesters. You're going to look up in the trees for those tree nesters. And make sure you look for some holes as well for those cavity nesting birds. And remember, these animals come in all different sizes. So think really big and think really small. When you spot a nest, decide what type of animal may have left that nest. And you can also decide maybe if that nest is going to be used for this year or if that's a really old nest from last year. And again, nests look all different kinds of ways, so you might also see some of those cavity nests. You may even see a bird sitting on a nest. For your outdoor activity, we're going to make a bird's nest. So you're going to scout around and look for lots of materials that you might want to make a bird's nest out of. It could include those rocks and stones. It could include grasses. It could include sticks or mud would be a great way to make one. Think about strong materials that you could weave together, and think about soft and warm materials that you can line the inside. So maybe some things like moss and lichen and seeds and fur and feathers that you might find outdoors. I've got some sticks, lots and lots of these dried grasses, which I've decided are going to be my main material. I've got some cattails and some flowers, and then I've also got some bark and lichen, and I'm going to start to put this all together into a bird's nest. So I'm going to start on the outside with my strong materials, my grass and my sticks. All right, now I'm going to start to line it with some of those softer materials. There's my bird's nest. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you all next time.